Welcome, everyone. This is the G23 channel, and we're doing a one on one interview with Derek from Kids S.A.F.E Foundation. So, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I kind of looked into your organization because I saw you over on Sandhill Shooter last night,
Hmm.
and I was like, wow, I didn't even realize we had anything like that going on, especially like that close to home, you know?
Yeah.
So, Um, you want to kind of give everybody a rundown of what your foundation is, and if there's any way, if kind of there's any way they can help support you or anything that they may want to do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the Kids Safe Foundation, we're a 501c3 nonprofit based in Eugene. And so we teach firearm safety and accident prevention to kids. And, part of what we do is, we do a tremendous amount of, outreach to the community. We're getting kids at a young age exposed to firearms. We're teaching them that guns are normal, right? And there's nothing to be afraid of. And presenting, facts over fear to the public. And it's our goal to we've reached about 22,000 kids so far, and going on 5 states, and taught them life-saving skills on what to do if they ever come across an unsecured firearm. And so obviously the goal is to keep going forward and hopefully reach a million or 10 million eventually, once we are able to go national with our program. And so we'll be looking for like-minded individuals that are safe, that believe in safety, and are good with kids, and they can get involved with what we're trying to accomplish.
You know, one person that's kind of like comes right off to mind would be um, Clovertack.
Yep.
Um, he's in Texas,
Texas. Yep.
and he does um, he's already doing like a 4-H or something where he's doing shooting and stuff with kids. So
Hmm.
he's teaching them and already. So
Hmm.
maybe like working with him might be something that could um, be out there.
Absolutely, and I've met him a couple times and at different events, and follow him, and I really like the work that he does when it comes to advocacy work for our 2A rights. And he puts out a really good message, and I think he has a pretty good following, and I think that's what's really important right now is with so many new gun owners, is we're educating them, and that's why we got to be really careful with the way we present the message. That way it's more inviting. That way we can kind of foster a culture of this is the way it should be as opposed to the way it was.
Exactly, and if we can get more um, people out there understanding that it's normal, it's not you know a crazy guy with a gun. Oh no, he's gonna be all scary and crap. You
Hmm.
know, it, at least in the area I am, if you're open carrying, most people don't even realize that you're open carrying, or they
Yeah.
don't even pay you any attention because, well, being a little south of where you are, we're really super 2A down here.
Yeah. You guys have a really good sheriff down there, Sheriff Hanlon.
Yeah,
He's a big promoter of 2A rights, and that's the thing is here in Eugene, it's people are afraid of guns. It's either people are really into guns, or you have the other side where if somebody were to open carry, there's people that are running out of the store, they're hyperventilating. It's not normal. And so what we're trying to do as an organization is obviously educate the kids on the importance of not touching that firearm. We're also educating the parents of the importance of proper storage when the gun's not on them. But we're also, we're talking about anti-bullying, we're talking about video games. These are all things that make kids potentially vulnerable in a dangerous situation.
yeah, and because I know, like going with the proper storage and stuff, we just had a bunch of anti 2A bills that got crammed down our throat,
Yep.
and I know Eugene is the mayor there, and I think the city council have already come out saying as soon as they can, since the state
Yep.
preemption was taken away, You guys are
Yeah.
going to go to what, 10-round mags maximum?
They don't have
Uh,
that authority. They don't have that authority. They're trying right now to in Eugene. They're trying to do the same thing that they're doing in Salem and Multnomah and Corvallis, Multnomah County, and that's where they're trying to ban open carry for anybody without a permit. Which under state law, it's legal for me to open carry without a permit. I'm just kind of limited on where I can go, and so they're trying to model that after other places, and that's all because of the riots that happened last year. Our city was on fire for weeks on end. And some of these people were open carrying without a permit, and they're the ones that were actually causing the damage to the city. So this thing, it's totally misguided, and it's not going to do anything to save lives. It's just an overreach.
and the thing is it's kind of, we already have, that just happened, was it last year or the other, that police can't just stop you and ask you, leading questions. So for them to be able to just like walk up and say, "Do you have a permit?" That's already going to violate a court order, and that's already, a court ruling that's already happened. So they can't, without having proper, suspicion that you're committing a crime or whatever, they can't just assume that you don't have a permit. You know,
Yeah, and that's the biggest problem right now is and that's my fear with law enforcement. Obviously, I'm a big supporter of law enforcement, but we need properly educated law enforcement. They need to know that they did take an oath to protect and serve, and us as constitutionally protected citizens, we have a right to exercise these rights and carry a gun. To be honest with you, I don't think we should have to have a permit, but that's something that I pay to play, I guess.
yeah, I know. I'm right there with you. I think that we should have constitutional carry across the
Hmm.
entire country.
Hmm.
Um, they would do away with reciprocity, because if everybody has constitutional carry, then you don't have to worry about your permit.
Hmm.
Does it work over in Washington, where we used to have that, but now the they're no longer friendly. So
Yep.
the only thing you got is, yeah, Washington and Oregon both have open carry, so you can open carry. You can't conceal carry in Washington anymore.
Yeah, with the whole thing's a mess. I mean, it's written by people that have no idea what they're talking about, and a lot of this stuff is infringement. What we were just talking about with 554 that just went in, it was just signed into law by the governor in the middle of September is when it's going to become law, which requires mandatory secure storage for firearms. The problem with it is OHA is the issuing body and the governing body, and they're going to decide what's appropriate for you to secure your firearm inside the home. And plus, it's taking away the preemption. It also raises our CHL prices to $100 for 4 years. And we have a down economy right now. I mean, nobody's really talking about it, but we have a lot of people that are out of work, a lot of people that don't want to go to work. I saw something just a few months ago. There's 97,000 people out of work in Oregon, right? It's like these people don't even want to go back to work. And so I could see
Yeah,
how $100 for a CHL is going to be hard for them to kind of pony up to get in the game and start carrying a gun concealed legally.
and if they already have one, it goes from 25 to renew it to $50 to renew it.
No, actually, no. It goes from $50 for the renewal to 75,
Oh,
and so it's a $25 raise
yeah,
in there.
increase.
But you have to look at it though. I can't carry in the same places that I can carry right now. So you're going to have people that are going to say, "Well, I'm just going to be a criminal." Really, and that's what the legislator doesn't. I mean, I spent a lot of times testifying and writing and calling my representatives during all this stuff, and I was blown away how they did not listen. Like they
Yeah,
did not listen to the data. Like here's the data. The data does not lie. Like the most law-abiding citizens in our country are the people that have concealed carry permits or are lawful gun owners because they're exercising their 2A rights. They're also following the laws. They know the laws. They're also been through the background checks. We're not the ones out there committing these crimes, and we're not talking about the Antifas. We're not talking about the Marxist, socialist, communists that are destroying our state, and it's bad.
yeah. So
So
Patriot says, "Oh boy, Oregon's got it easy. $100. My renewal was 115. But
one 115, huh?
I think he's
Yeah,
over there in Michigan.
is he? Oh,
Yeah.
Patriot in the Dark. I remember him from last night.
Yep.
So yeah, so we're in a world of hurt right now, and ultimately it's going to come down to where we have to get people involved, and it's going to get challenged. It has to get challenged in court. I've already spoken with friends at the Second Amendment Foundation and Firearms Policy Coalition, and they're aware and they're monitoring. And we, basically we need somebody to get caught in the trap, and before we can proceed with any kind of legal matter, and that's
Yeah.
what it's going to take.
I was talking with Crump
Mm-hmm.
from GOA, and
Yeah,
yeah, he was kind of saying the same thing as you know they kind of they're ready to go, but they can't do anything yet.
no, no,
Without having somebody. And the thing is if you look at the way 554 is worded,
uh-huh.
um, it says in use. You know, it has to be locked up unless
Yep,
in use.
yep.
Now, who is going to define that word in use?
Well, the Oregon Health Authority is going to be one of them, and they're going to say that a trigger lock, a cable lock, those are adequate, for storage. Which I don't agree. As a kid safety expert, is that doesn't prevent theft. Or one thing we're not talking about also is the fact that OHA is going to say, okay, well, this type of securement is legal, right, and authorized, and then if I don't have a gun in compliance, it's a $500 fine per gun. Okay. And, how are they going to get access to my home? Are they going to have a search warrant? Because I'm not going to just let somebody walk into my home to see if my guns are properly stored. It's, none, I mean, I don't have kids in my home. So, obviously everything I do have is secured, but it's none of their business.
Exactly, but like, because you could say, well, that firearm on my nightstand is in use. That's if somebody breaks into my house, that's my go-to, you know, to defend my house. So would that not clarify in use? Because so there's the gray areas on some of that,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
like you're saying, it's going to take somebody getting caught before they can argue and possibly get it thrown out. I mean, we look at what's going on. What I think it was in Michigan, where that trucker got arrested because he was carrying a firearm in his truck
Mm-hmm.
and everything, and um, I guess so that's where they're going to start trying to push for reciprocity. I mean, the thing is if my driver's license is good in Florida, why shouldn't my concealed license be good in Florida? You know, so
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
irritating.
Absolutely, and it comes down to as Oregonians, we have to get involved, and we have to sacrifice. We should be running for our school boards, our city councils, our county governments, and this at the state level. You guys are lucky. You have Dallas Hurd, which he is an absolute rock star when it comes to our rights. And I'm very blessed. I actually wrote a Senate bill in 2019, and he was actually we got a public hearing, and so we went in front of the education. Committee, and he was on that. He was the chair of that committee, and he really told Ceasefire Oregon what for, and they circled the whole committee back on them, and so we open this door when it comes to education of our kids, and so that bill, Senate Bill 801 back in 2019, would have authorized our program in all of the public schools for first graders, and we would have saved a lot of lives from day one. We don't need new laws that are written by people that are just writing bills to get more laws and more restrictions. I mean, none of these laws we have over 22,000 laws on the books right now, and they're not being properly enforced. And so why don't we focus on things that'll actually work as opposed to further restriction?
Yeah. So I'm gonna run through the side chat real quick and say hey to everybody. Right now we got CB. He's another fellow Oregonian out
Is he?
of yeah. He's down like Brookings area.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, he's over on the coast.
That's a beautiful area.
Yeah, we've got uh, looks like Colostomy Bag was first on there. G Webs, Kingpin, Patriot in the Dark, Makojo's all out here. Burnaby Sanchez, New York Outcast. He's one of my panelists normally on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Keith Gregory, Mystic Guns is out there. So we got DJ Play Nice, Wheeled and Well Armed. So welcome everybody. Yeah. And guys, if you have any questions for him, go ahead, throw them out in the chat. We will, time permitting, get a hold of them and try to answer anything we can. Um, so you were talking, trying to roll it out nationwide at the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
Now, do you think it's going to be receptive in a lot of states, like down in California, over in New York,
Yep.
Maryland?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I guess next week will be my biggest challenge because we're actually going to Hawaii, and they're very anti-gun there, and so that will be my biggest challenge. I mean, we've gone into California before, and the parent, and obviously that was Northern California, where it's almost the state of Jefferson, so everybody was really really good to us down there, and we're down in Anderson, California, we're shooting BB guns, and we're because there's no education for those kids. When they're so when restriction and regulation is so high, the parents don't educate the kids, and that's a kind of a generalization, but that's from our firsthand experience down there in those situations is when a gun is made illegal because of a pen stroke of a politician, that parent does not talk to the kids about that gun just because they're afraid of maybe a kid saying something to a teacher or a friend and maybe getting back to law enforcement. So they're afraid of actually being penalized, which makes their kids kind of very vulnerable. And so that's why we go to Hawaii. If we can get their support and their buy-in for what we're trying to do. I've already been trolled pretty hard. I found out today that all the antis were going to our website to buy up all the seats, so other people couldn't get registered. So I had to kind of fix that and delete a whole bunch and open up some slots. So, but they're very tech savvy, and they have it the way they want it. And they don't want to see it any other way. So it's going to be a challenge.
well, yeah, I mean, the thing is I guess if they're buying the seats, they're spending their money to promote the Second Amendment without them thinking about that. Even though no one's going to show up, you know, the people that do want to be there could still be outside. And hey, guess what? If ticket holders aren't coming in,
Yeah.
the seats already been sold.
Yeah, and that's where we're all trying to figure that out. And I see somebody in the chat talking about Chicago. I have friends in Chicago, and that's one of my goals this summer was to get out there and work with those kids. And what I'm trying to do is just show the fact that education will work if given the chance. Right now, like, nobody wants to talk about education. Nobody wants to talk about SAFE. They want to talk about, hey, we need to ban this. We need to restrict that. We need to do this. Well, hey, you guys have been doing this since 1934. Okay, you've been restricting our firearms since 1934, 1968, 1986, and it hasn't worked. So how about we try something new? How about that?
Right? And the thing is you look at all the, I call them direct correlations, but it may not be. When they start putting gun-free zones into, like, in the schools areas and stuff,
Yep.
you started getting more and more school shootings. Even if
Mm-hmm.
people weren't taking guns to school, before the gun-free zone, guess what? It's kind of like if you tell a child they can't do something, what's the one thing they're going to want to do?
Exactly.
Exactly
Exactly.
what you just told them that they can't do. So, if you say, no, you cannot bring a gun here, or no, you can't bring a knife here, or whatever, they're going to do exactly that. You're kind of challenging them. And especially with teenagers, they're already wanting to be defiant. It's
Yeah.
kind of, you're reaching out, trying to, build up who you are going to be. And now you got somebody saying, guess what? No, you can't do that. You know?
Well, and what's happening with 554? My biggest fear, and I'm already seeing parents kind of publish the documentation that they're seeing, is they are going to weaponize the doctors and the teachers against the parents. And I saw a parent share something from her doctor's office yesterday about her kids went in for a routine exam, and there's actually verbiage on the form. Do you have any firearms in your home? Are they properly stored? Right there in that form that parent has to fill out. And so that's scary. Is now you're going to have the teachers unions doing the same thing. Like, let's talk about your parents' guns in the home. Do they have any guns? So it puts all of us in a very bad spot. And so we have to figure out how we're going to address this going forward.
Yeah. I mean, all the horrible stuff that went into 554, because there's so many different things. I know they were trying to argue like where you will be able to carry, where you won't be able to. Um, they changed a little bit on being able to go to like airports. It was, even if it was in your vehicle and you were just, hey, I'm pulling up. I pick you up from the airport to give you a ride home,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a firearm in my vehicle. If somebody sees that, I'm now a felon.
Yep.
You know, at least they've kind of changed that to, as long as you don't go inside the terminal or stuff like that.
Well,
You can.
the problem there though is like they put grounds adjacent to each building, right? So I could be walking down the street where I can carry a gun right now, completely legal. I could be walking on the property that's grounds adjacent to, and now I'm looking at 5 years in prison, $125,000 fine. And that's what I told my reps every time I called up there to say I'm going to talk to somebody. My question to them is, do you think a law-abiding, responsible gun owner should be going to prison for 5 years and face a $125,000 fine for carrying a gun where they can legally carry a gun right now? And they couldn't give me a straight answer. I said, I asked, is that a reasonable punishment? And they couldn't give me a good answer. And they said, well, we're just afraid up here in the Capitol building. It's like, well, you have armed security. You have the Oregon State Police. Okay, so now you're taking away my ability to carry a gun to protect myself from the building to my truck, right, or wherever I park my vehicle. And now I have to leave a gun. I'm obviously I have storage in my vehicle, but how many parents don't? How many people don't have secure storage in their vehicles? And they're creating such a big bureaucracy is what they're doing.
Yeah, and I don't know. I was yelling about, and I talked with, like you said, Dallas Hurd. I've talked with Scarlatos, because at the
Yeah,
time,
he's good.
um,
He's a good dude.
yeah. For people who don't know who Scarlatos is, he was the guy who was on the train. Um, what was that?
Have you heard that story?
Yeah,
I had
I
I had I had lunch with him one time, and he said that he muzzle strike that guy with an AK. I was like, wow, that's that's pretty sweet. So, and he saved a lot of lives that day.
oh yeah, he did. I mean, if those three guys wouldn't have been on there, plus I forget the French guy's name that was on there. Um, if those guys wouldn't have got involved, and they would have just said, hey, not my cup of tea, not my problem. It could have been a whole different thing, you know.
Absolutely.
So, um, Patriot says Chicago has zero gun rights. Talk about gun-free zones. Try a gun-free city. Well, yeah, they have their Chicago is pretty crap. Patriot says, okay, can he give us a quick brief overview of the Kids Safe thingamabob. So,
Thingamabob. All right, so a quick synopsis of a thingamabob. So basically, the Kids Safe Foundation, we're a nonprofit, and so we teach firearm safety, acts of prevention to kids. Reached about 22,000 kids in going on 5 states, and taught them what to do if they come across an unsecured firearm. We're also talking about anti-bullying. We talk about video games, video game violence. We talk about Nerf gun, air gun safety. And we also follow up when we do stuff on the range with them. So we have that number one class, and we have a number 2 class, which is actually on the range, and that's where we're shooting rim fires. And so now we're getting kids that don't have any experience with firearms, and we're teaching them about proper safety handling disciplines. We're also letting them shoot 60 to 70 rounds per class. And so that's what we're trying to do, is just bring awareness to our 2A rights. And one thing, as I've been doing this for about 7 years now. I realized that the future of our republic depends on those kids, and there's some kids that are already gone. And I would say here in Oregon, a lot of it has to do with the teachers unions. And so that's why I'm trying to get to these kids at 5, 6, 7 years old, obviously to save their lives, but also to teach them that guns aren't scary. You'd be surprised how many kids I see that say that are afraid of guns. Like I bring out an AR-15 and they're like, and then I teach them, this is what this part does. There's nothing bad about this type of platform. This is often demonized, and basically their teachers are saying that those guns are used to kill people, and bullets are meant to tear through flesh. And so I get the opportunity to kind of bring them back to reality and say, no. This gun right here is used in a defensive type situation. You can use it to hunt. It's used for sporting. It could also be used for a defensive manner. And these bullets are designed to they have different applications, and they don't kill. And then we bring up the data. An AR-15 is used in less than 1% of all violent crimes, and so that's something that they can't refute. Yet they try. They're just afraid of that platform, because that's the last bastion of freedom in this country is that rifle. So I hope that helped.
so wheeled and well armed says my colleague lives in Chicago and got a gun permit. It was a lot of hoops for him to get a shotgun. So yeah.
Yeah, so my friend Rhonda Azell lives there in Chicago, and she actually sued the city of Chicago, went all the way to the Supreme Court. So she's a rock star there, and she needs support from us and the 2A community. So that's another one I would reach out to, is Rhonda Azell with Black Guns, or Chicago Guns Matter, and check out what she's doing on our behalf there in Chicago. And she's trying to get ranges opened in Chicago, because that's there's no they have to jump through all these hoops to carry a gun in Chicago, but there's no opportunity for them to train. And so they have to do something legislatively there to fix that state. That state's a mess, but they're not doing anything to figure that out, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, their governor probably isn't the greatest 2A supporter.
Yeah.
I'll be nice to Beetlejuice.
Oh, that's the mayor. That's the mayor. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, is it Lightfoot? Yeah.
yeah, Lord,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But yeah, it's that's a challenge, and that's we're all in this together. We all want to enjoy our 2A rights. I mean, I don't know about you. I just want to be left alone. Okay,
yeah,
I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to do anything bad things. I just want to be left alone. If I want to go to the range and use a firearm that I love, because I collect firearms, I should be able to do that without having to have paperwork to do that. And but we just here in Oregon, we just sit on our hands. We sit on our hands and think that somebody else is going to save the day, and that's why we're in this situation. We need more people in Oregon to get off their butts and get involved and run for office. And and start at the smallest level. And we can do this across the country. And if we can, win the school boards right now in Oregon, they're pushing that critical race theory, which is, highly controversial. And so I know up north with me in Albany, they're fighting that at the school boards, and they're trying to reverse that. And I think, that, I mean, the biggest thing I can kind of advise parents in Oregon is homeschool your kids or go to a charter or a private Christian school, because that's the only way these kids are going to get any kind of valuable education. And it's really, really sad. So, the only thing we can do is hit them in their pocketbooks by pulling our kids out of those public schools. I mean, because they're going to lose their federal funding. So that's what's going to help correct things. I hope.
And unfortunately, when school bonds come up, vote no. Hit them definitely in their pocketbook. Say, you know what? Not
Yeah.
another one of my tax dollars is
Yep.
going to be used, you know, until you guys want to do the right thing. Stop trying to indoctrinate our children.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing is our kids go to school to learn, not to be preached to. And that's where I feel that, that's what's been great about the Zoom is there's been a lot of parents here in Oregon that have been able to watch what actually goes on inside the schools, and they're like, whoa, I'm not okay with that. And so, that's what we have to do is we have to be actively engaged with our kids, and we have to hear about what's happening at school. And that way we can run our complaints through the proper channels. That's the only way we're going to be able to stop this.
Yeah, I agree with Rob about their New York outcast. He says legal should be legal. They need to stop with all the BS. Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Oh yeah, and my retort for them is, can you show me one place where your idea has worked? And I'll sit there for a minute, and there'll be crickets, and it's never worked. Like they've tried these experiments all over the country, and it's never worked. From California, they all model the same thing. They all have the same because they all have the same funding. They're getting their funding through either George Soros or Everytown or Moms Demand Action. And they're all fundled together,
a
and
lot
and
a lot of
so
it's Bloomberg. Bloomberg
yeah, for
loves to
sure,
put his money in there.
for sure,
I mean, he was one of the major factors of 1639 going into effect in
yeah,
Washington. I'm,
yeah.
I'm,
And
I'm
what
originally
was
from Washington, and I moved
are
down
you?
here to Oregon. So, yeah, yeah.
I don't know if that was a good move or not.
Right.
You should have gone. You should have gone east. You should have turned left.
I've
Um,
been I've been in South Carolina. I've been all across the United States, and I don't know. Being back out east is there was some nice stuff out there and everything, but they don't have mountains. They got
that is true.
molehills. I mean,
That
their
is true.
tallest mountain is like 4,000 feet. Our pass levels are like 4,500 feet, 4,000 feet. So
Yeah.
don't tell me that that's a mountain when my passes are like at the same height or taller, you know. Then if you go out into Colorado, um, you've got one pass that's at 10,000 feet. I think it's over in Idaho. You've got the tallest pass in the United States. Um, so yeah,
And I have a lot of friends that are heading to Idaho, and they're doing really well. And we're sitting here, and we have, you know, unemployment and homeless, and methamphetamines, and we're supposed to just deal with it, I guess. So yeah, this is the new normal. So
yeah. I really wish Jefferson would have happened,
yeah,
or if we would have been Greater Idaho. I mean,
yeah,
would Greater of Idaho incorporated you, or was that right
no,
there at? Because I think
no,
bits and pieces of Lane County were going to be involved in Greater Idaho, but
no. I don't think we'd get that lucky. I don't think Bend would give up that kind of control. To be honest with you, I don't think Idaho would want any part of Oregon. So I think Idaho is good the way they are. They don't want any change.
yeah,
So so and we live in a beautiful state, and for the most part, until this whole we can have any type of firearm that we want. Class 3. We can have, I call them standard capacity magazines, which are 30 rounds. We don't have any magazine capacity, restrictions. Which that's on. There's actually a ballot initiative right now, ballot initiative 18 and or 17 and 18. They're by the
Yeah.
clergymen up there, and so what they're trying to do is they're trying to ban all semi-automatic rifles in the state of Oregon that take a detachable box magazine. That's on a ballot initiative, so that was dangerous because it takes kind of an act of Congress to get that overturned, and they're going to go after magazine capacity bans as well. So
Rob's out there trolling me. He's like, he's scared of the East or has warrants. No, if I had warrants, I would not be able to buy firearms. So, that is right there in that 4473.
oh, what's that? Do you have to tell the truth on those? Because I
All
heard you
right.
didn't have to. I
I,
heard there's
I,
a special way to not fill that out appropriately, and nothing will happen.
no, that's only if you have the last name Biden
Oh, dang it! So what if I
or Clinton.
self-identify? Can I self-identify as a Biden?
I'd probably be more wanting to self-identify as a Clinton. Less likely that
Uh,
other things could happen.
the arrest warrant loophole. I love that. That's like the gun show loophole, right? The gun show loophole is where everybody can buy a gun without having to go through a background check, which doesn't happen. So, shout out to Charlie Cook. That's kind of his thing. Is the gun show, the gun control loophole. We
Yeah,
we have to go through all this stuff, and it's still not legal for us to do it.
yeah. What was it? Gear websites, gun websites. Gearwebsites.com has a bunch of 2A stuff, but gun websites has a YouTube channel, and he did a couple times did gun show loophole tours
Mhm.
where he traveled around to different gun shows and um, stuff like that.
Warsaw Patriot. CCFR. What is that? Could you elaborate on that? I'd like to hear more. Oh, Canadian Coalition. Hey, see that right there? Oh, so funny story. My father was actually Canadian, and so I spent a lot of time up there. I always had to check my gun at the border there in Blaine, at a truck stop, and leave it in the locker. As I went to visit him as he was in hospice in Canada, and so I love Canada, and yeah, they have really high rates of restriction up there as well. I think they're trying to ban the AR-15 too up there. I
Oh,
think
they're ban.
Trudeau's trying to do.
I think they did ban all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's gone into effect yet, but yeah, he did away with a lot of guns, or he's trying to do away with a lot of different guns up there in Canada. I mean, stuff that we weren't able to have down here.
Mhm.
Uh,
Well, I mean, all the time I spent up in Canada, I mean, I felt safe. I mean, even I was unarmed, and I still felt safe being downtown and Vancouver and all that. I mean, I didn't, I didn't have a problem. I felt safer there than actually I do in Oregon, which was kind of weird. And I have a gun on me in Oregon, so it's just it's a different culture. Everybody's really polite, and you know, so I you know I don't know what that's going to accomplish. So
CB says, friend sent me 2 ARs from Canada. Was too scared to have them anymore.
how in the heck did he get them across the border? That'd be interesting.
FFL to FFL.
I wonder if that's yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
I'll tell you a story though. Don't take a cert gun into Canada. that didn't go out well. So yeah, I went up there one time. I did a class the night before, and I had obviously I had my EDC on me, and I had a cert gun in the back of the truck there, and I went up to as I got close to the border. Siri kind of got messed with my cert because you have competing cell services there, and so I missed a turn, And as soon as I went around the roundabout, I was like, uh oh, the walls started going up, and I'm like, oh no. And so I got to the border. I still had a gun on my hip, and as soon as I got to the obviously the counter there, I declare I told him I was really scared that I still have a gun on me. I wasn't able to properly store it. And then he goes, hands out the window, turn off the truck, hands out the window. And so I'm my hands are out the window. They surround us and they disarm me and they're kind of laughing and they took the gun and they called U.S. Customs and the U.S. Customs came and it was funny, right? So then I had to go back into the United States, get my gun, then take it to where I was going to store it, which I got the good instructions, and then I went back, right? And so I get back to the border there, and so they remembered my truck, and so they asked me, "Do I have any guns in the vehicle?" I said, "No, I don't have any guns." And they said, "We'll pull over there. We want to check you just in case." And so I went over there and I parked, and they started going through my truck. And I was looking through the window as I was sitting in there being interviewed, and all of a sudden I saw they have my case to my cert gun. I was like, "Oh, this is not good." And I was with a girlfriend at the time. She goes, "I thought you didn't have any more guns." I don't. That's my cert gun. And so they brought that in, and they said you can't have this in Canada. So I had to go back into the United States and lock up my cert gun too. So that was don't try that. It was luckily I was honest about it, and wasn't trying to be trying to hide anything, but it's not a real gun, so that's why I thought I could have it. But they don't want anything that looks like a gun in Canada. So
Yeah,
don't do that.
I was pre 9/11. Uh, I used to go across the border um, into Canada, going up 97, not up I
Yep.
5, and that was an unmanned crossing. So you could
Oh,
just they didn't have anyone there. I mean, so you'd be able to just go right into Canada. I mean,
really?
no problems. Um,
Huh.
and completely spaced off that I had been out shooting, and I had 322 rifles out in my car. Just they were in the back of the car, and yeah, there was a up in Penticton. There was an officer who saw that, and he's like, um, "You can't have those." I'm like, 19, and so yeah, I was 19. I couldn't. And at the time, I was still a convicted felon because I got in trouble as a kid. Now I have all my rights back. That cost $5 grand. I tell
Well,
you
that's
one thing.
that's money well spent. I tell you what, money well
Yep,
spent so you can pay to have a permit to carry a gun concealed in the state of Oregon. Way to
yep,
go. So
yeah.
tonight's mantra is don't do what we do in Canada.
I mean,
Brought to you by the letter G.
yeah. The the officer was awesome because didn't do anything. He just said, "I see you're from Washington. Take him home. Then come back." He could have easily had taken me in, could have seized the firearms, and that would have been a hell of a lot more, problems.
Mhm.
I would have been banned from Canada.
Which, which, if you can't have an AR-15 in Canada, is that a bad thing? You know,
Right? Right?
I don't know. Probably not.
So CB says FFL to FFL, they came from the U.S. and shipped back the same way. So
Okay. Okay.
I was
Uh, I,
smoking.
I I saw something. So Warsaw Patriot replica firearms are banned in Canada. Yeah, I found that out the hard way.
Yeah.
So
Now, I'm not going to try it, but my question is, what about a taser?
I wouldn't try it.
I'm not going to. I'm definitely not going to try it because they probably wouldn't find it that funny.
No.
So yeah. So I don't know how long you have or anything. Um,
I have a little bit of time.
so Patriot in the Dark says my old boss was banned from traveling to Canada. He got in trouble stealing.
A cuckoo
And,
clock. What are you in for? I stole a cuckoo clock. Oh
well,
gosh.
well, after 9/11, you can't even go up there if you have certain driving violations.
Yeah, they're big on like DUIs, and then yeah, they're.
Reckless endangerment, anything
Mhm.
that possibly could have been a felony. You know, like look at Oregon. If you go above 100 miles an hour and they catch you, that's a felony charge.
Is it? Is it?
Yeah, it's a reckless endangerment and
But I can, but I can have a gram of methamphetamine and heroin. Weird.
right magic mushrooms.
Yeah, that's a violation. Yet if I have a 9 millimeter, I'm going to prison for 5 years. What's wrong with this picture?
Yeah, I mean, what if you're doing 100 miles an hour transporting somebody to the hospital? You know, Fr- who knows? But yeah, it could be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, my father passed away about 4 years ago, so I haven't been up there since. But it was a good time. Obviously what's happening in Washington, I've been following them. They're kind of following the same way as Oregon, and California is kind of leading the way. And what we're seeing in California is probably going to go to other states. So I was really excited to see Texas get constitutional carry, Utah get constitutional carry. I would love to run an IP here for constitutional carry. And what I would do with that is I would um, make gun free zones illegal under that IP. So anywhere I can legally be in public with a gun, it would be illegal for me to be disarmed. That's why I would word that. So or something along those lines.
yeah,
So
I mean, yeah, that's something I think um, we could really get going if we can get the right people. I mean, look, we had six um, rhinos that decided that they didn't want to walk out,
well, because
and
they got paid. I mean, let's be honest, they got paid. I mean, they had millions of dollars going to their districts for their own little projects, and they sold all of us out.
and
You know,
not only that, but um, they were afraid of possibly the $150 a day fine, but that would never have happened because they introduced that too after the fact. They would have had to have at least one conservative show up to
yep,
cause the supermajority.
yep. Well,
And
and you look what's just happened in Texas. I mean, Texas Democrats learned from Oregon Republicans. And
mhm.
when the problem is the Oregon Republicans didn't have the funding to have the private jet to go wherever. They had to put up GoFundMe's just to get out of the state to save us last year. And now you got Texas Democrats hopping on private jets, paid by Bloomberg to fly to DC. It's You can't even make this stuff up.
and the thing is none of our conservatives that ran, you know, did. Oh, I'm going to do a Twitter post saying my first meal as a fugitive. Really? Like, like
That's what that's
from inside a plane as they're flying to DC. They a couple
with
of
no
them.
mask on. With no
Yeah,
mask on.
yeah.
I was really offended by that after I had to wear a mask for 15 months here in Oregon. you know. And you have these guys, hopping on private planes without masks. I mean, that's how many
Um,
lives were put at risk. I mean, seriously.
I'm telling you, you should have been a little south, and you would have been okay because I'm pretty sure Douglas County gave the big FU to Kate Brown and OSHA. I mean, look at Casey's restaurant.
Oh, how'd they do? Did they get fined?
Oh, dude, they got massively fined. They're
Uh,
they're at like I think $250,000 worth of
don't pay
fines.
it. Don't pay it.
They're not. They're fighting it
Good.
and everything. And um, Yeah, because they weren't requiring masks or anything. A lot of the businesses down here said, you know what, we're not going to require it. Even if we'll put up the signage and stuff, but if you walk in here, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to tell you you can't be here. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of the businesses were just like, whatever, we don't care. So,
I mean, that's what it's going to take is people kind of pushing back and knowing what their rights are and understand. I mean, I have this right here, and actually, I do classes for adults. I do firearms. I'm a full time instructor, and I give these out to parents because if they don't understand, you got to understand the state constitution. You got to know what this means, and you got to understand, what this is designed to do, and it's designed to constrain government, not us. And there's so many people here in Oregon that just, okay, okay, that's okay. Instead of saying no, I'm not going to do that.
yeah,
So
I think I think a lot of us down here, um, we're like, no, we're not violating our rights. We know what they are. You know, again, if you're there's a line where you don't cross. You
yep,
know, it's like if you walk into a business, open carrying a firearm, or even if you're concealed carrying a firearm, um, and somebody sees it that works there, and they say, "Sir, could you please leave?" or "Ma'am, can you please leave?" Turn around and walk out. Going to jail over, you know, that is not the fight you want to pick.
yeah,
Because you're trespassing. Once you refuse to leave, it's not that, oh, well, my rights give me, well, your rights stop at a certain point. They still have, you know, they own that business, or, they're a representative of that business, and they can ask you to leave.
well, and that comes down to proper concealment. If they don't know, I mean, I carry a gun everywhere I can legally do it under state and federal law. I am armed because there was that one time I wasn't armed that I needed the gun, and I'll tell you that story too. That was a fun one. That's kind of why I'm here today, is because of that one time that I was unarmed when I needed my gun, and my gun was used to save my life. And from that point on, I'm not going to make that same mistake. And so I look into the chat, Burnaby. What about a pointy stick? So knives aren't regulated here. We can have within reason any type of knife that we like, and so
As long as you're not a prohibited person.
a prohibited person. Yes, obviously. So
Because, what is it? I think it's anything over a 3-inch blade is a
yeah,
felony charge for a prohibited person.
yeah. If it's yeah, it's even more if it's concealed. So, but
Yeah. Or even pepper spray, mace. Those are all restricted for prohibited people. If you're a felon, or even somebody who got a domestic violence charge, you can't carry that. You get
yeah,
caught, you're in trouble. Which
yeah,
was
and
kind of weird. You should still be able to defend yourself and protect your own life,
they don't
even.
like that. They don't like that term though. They don't like the term self defense. That's the problem. So and you see most of these, the methamphetamine users, they have a blade. Most of them are armed, and they have mental health issues, and we're not addressing that. We're actually making. I think it's because we can afford to pay the fines because we have jobs. I don't know. I mean, so,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, it's unfortunate. So
yeah. So there's do you have carry insurance?
I do, I
Yeah,
do. I have
that's
it through the USCCA. I've been looking at US Law Shield. I've heard good things about them. So
I've heard good things about them also. But yeah, USCCA is who I go with and who I tend to like tell people to go with.
So you
Um,
get the 5 emails a day.
5. I get because I got two different emails. I got my personal email and then I've got my G23 email. So I get like 10, 15 from them a
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah. You got like 5. Yeah, it's really bad. And part of it is like I think to myself, if your product is that good, why do you have to send out that many emails? You know, and it's like half the ones are coming from Tim Schmidt. It's like, oh, I was just heading to dinner. I thought I'd send you this email. It's like, you know, anything better to do than send me an email on the way to dinner?
So
So,
do you communicate with Mr. Jeff Merkley?
uh, I spoke with his office a week, 2 weeks ago. I called up there, had a conversation about something I'm working on. They were cordial.
Yeah, him and I have gone back and forth quite a bit in emails. Um, yeah, him and I don't see eye to eye, and
Is it because you're not a socialist, communist, Marxist?
uh, yeah, and DeFazio has just completely, I think, blocked me
um,
because
I
like
didn't.
you send out those emails, and normally you at least get the, the blanket email back.
Thanks
Y-
for your opinion matters.
Yeah,
Thanks
something,
for reaching out. Yeah,
due to COVID, blah blah blah. I won't be in the office, but you
yeah.
can still reach, blah blah blah. It's like, wow. No, DeFazio, he sent me like 3 of those or whatever. He's probably he responded like maybe 3 times to any of my emails. And then after I, gave him some facts and, sent him links to where he could find out the correct information,
Hmm.
like I've never heard anything from him again.
Of
Like
course,
I send him
he
an
doesn't.
email.
He doesn't want to hear the truth. He still thinks there was an insurrection on the 6th of January. Okay. Um, Peter DeFazio wants to take a ride on the Democrats' plane from Texas. Wearing with no mask. I guess Peter DeFazio was in Lane County yesterday with the uh, Buttigieg. Is that the guy's
Yeah,
name? He's transportation secretary. So
yeah.
that was interesting.
I'm pretty sure they were looked like they were pretty close to hugging right there next to the bus,
Yes,
talking
that was definitely
talking
a
about electric.
violation of the 6 feet. I should have been there with my tape measure to make sure they were properly spaced.
Oh,
So
you could clearly see they were probably less than 3 inches from each other.
yeah,
Uh, I
um,
mean, did you see
what?
where Buttigieg was like trying to pull the um, plug out of the bus? And
Well,
it looked like DeFazio was reaching over to grab his hand to help him.
in his defense, he rides a bike 20 miles a day. Okay, to work. Okay, so he doesn't have the upper body strength. He has the leg strength. He just doesn't have the upper body strength. So, in his defense. The thing that I'm concerned about the electric buses that they're trying to put us all on, because they want to, restrict diesel and petroleum is, you look what's happening in California where they don't even have the infrastructure to power the electric vehicles, right? And so now people can't even drive their vehicles and they're being forced to sell their vehicles. That potentially could happen here in Oregon, right? So this whole thing's just a mess.
Well, we need more hydroelectric dams here in Oregon.
Yeah. Or clean coal.
Um,
Clean coal's very efficient. So,
if you look up in Washington, in
mhm,
Chelan and Douglas County, they've got the PUDs, the public utility districts, which are
mhm,
like, that's just where you get all your electricity from.
mhm,
You've got Rocky Reach Dam, you've got Wells Dam, you've got a few different dams up there um, that are all electric producing,
mhm.
and they have so cheap of an electricity cost. It's like 7.8 cents per kilowatt hour.
Mhm.
Um, and they sell a bunch of it to the open market
Yeah.
and stuff. So they have electric, buses and stuff like that up there, and they've had them up there for I think 2007 was when they got
Mhm.
their first electric bus
Mhm.
and stuff. And so yeah, but if again you look at the offset you're spending on those electric cars, and I wouldn't mind like an electric car for like short commutes, but you're not going to be able to go real far. I mean, what I think they're like 300 miles if you get a nice top of the line Tesla.
Well, I'd love an electric car to hide my AR-15 collection because they wouldn't look for that. I'd be in a Tesla, they wouldn't even know. So it'd be great. I can conceal all my favorite firearms in there, and I'd be incognito, and nobody would know.
I'd like to take a Tesla like Model S or whatever
Hmm.
and give it the Jesse James uh, um, edition. Have the seat that pops up out of the roof, and you can have your 50 cal up there,
Yeah, I like Black Rifle Coffee where they have the Prius with the minigun on top. That's
right?
awesome. Yeah, those guys really know how to party.
So we've been going for like about an hour. I'm not going to tie you up too much longer,
Okay.
but um, if you could do away with one anti-gun law, what would it be and why?
I would repeal the NFA. There's no reason for. I mean, I would start with the NFA, and I would probably increase that. And the reason I would do that is there's no reason for us to wait, up to 10 months to a year for something that, there's actually no data supports that these have been used in the commission of a crime. And I don't see why we should have to pay the government $200 for hearing protection. And so I would start there. Probably go to 1986, and that's another thing. Machine guns are not used in the commission of crimes. There's no data supporting that. There maybe has been, the Hollywood shootout back in the early '90s or the late '90s, excuse me, where they used fully automatic. But other than that, I mean, the numbers of those guns being used in the commission of crime are very low, and it comes down to criminals. Criminals. It doesn't. We could have a million laws. Let's make 10 million laws. I mean, if you're a criminal by definition, you're not going to obey those laws. And so, what I'm kind of offended by is how you and I, as law-abiding and responsible gun owners, we have to be held to a higher standard. And we're not the ones out there committing these crimes. So why shouldn't we have this ability? So that's kind of where I'm going there. And then talk about reciprocity. We have a Second Amendment for a reason, and that Second Amendment protects us, and it gives us the ability to exercise these rights. And I shouldn't have to have a permit to carry a firearm because it's for my lawful self defense. And there's been Supreme Court rulings that will support that case, and so yeah, that's kind of where I would go if I could take big three sloths at the laws. That would be a good start, and that would help kind of get things back to the way they should be.
Like I did with Chris, I'm going to go back to I would still go with 1934.
Yeah, 1934. Yeah,
Why?
yeah,
Why? Because if I do away with 1934, would they attempt any other, you know, gun law? And
that's true.
if that was never there, would they try to do one anytime after that? If you take out the first, you never know if something else would, you know, happen. So that's kind of where my train of thought goes on that is.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I think that would be a good move. I mean, ultimately, they're never going to give up this gun control. Okay, one thing we have to understand is there is too much money involved with controlling guns. Okay, we have the gun control lobby. We also have the lobby on our side with like the NRA. There's too much money involved, and there's too many other things that go into not talking about gun control, and so they'll never. I mean, we'll be dealing with this for the end of time until they finally turn us into like Cuba, which we're seeing right now in Cuba is a reason that we need to fight to keep our Second Amendment rights because what's happening in Cuba. First, they started with registration, then they came and took the guns, and now everybody is unarmed and they're being killed by the government. And so that's what we have to. That's kind of our line in the sand.
Yeah, I mean, it happened. That's the communist dictatorship playbook. I
Yep.
mean, you go back to World War II, back into Nazi Germany.
Mm-hmm.
You they made everyone register their firearms. If you were Jewish, you lost them.
Yep.
If you and other places, they would just start. Okay, well, you guys can't have them. Well, once you
Yep.
can't have them, you can't defend yourself. You can't defend yourself. You're just an easy victim.
Well, and they what they did is they did a very good job of dehumanizing the Jewish population. Is they made it where they treated them like they're subhuman. That's why it was okay to treat them the way they did and do the horrible things that they did to them. And so that's what they're trying to do with us, libertarians and conservatives and people that love guns. Is they're trying to isolate us. They're trying to dehumanize us. They're trying to control us by putting masks on our faces and control our children. So that's why it's a little bit easier for them to kind of get away with the stuff that they're doing to us.
Yep. Like I was back when this all started, the mask issue, the scandemic or whatever. Um, I've been saying the masks aren't there to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a test. What are you willing to do? How far are you willing to allow them to push you? And
Yeah.
how much control are you willing to give them? And who is willing to comply? They want to see those three things. It was kind of a test of, okay, can we isolate people that are gonna stand out and buck the system? You know,
Yeah, it's a forced compliance is what is happening. But I think there's enough people like you and I that understand the responsibility that we have as gun owners, and they understand the responsibility of this, right? Because this is something that is near and dear to us, and I think that if we can get ourselves in a good position, we can win in court, and that's going to help protect DC versus Heller is a good example. I think what's happening here in Oregon with 554, I mean, that's in direct violation of DC versus Heller, and that's already a Supreme Court victory. And so that's why I think this one, what we have here in Oregon is going to be struck down because I don't think it'll pass the smell test. So
yeah. Um, and so I mean, I can't wait for the ninth to pick up the last few cases from St. Benitez.
mhm.
He's been doing great at trying to smack California down
Yeah.
and giving us back our 2A rights. Um, and there's gonna those some of those cases are gonna end up in the Supreme Court.
Well, the problem is though is we're spending so much time worrying about California. Okay, one thing we have to think about California. California is it doesn't matter we win in court in California, they're still going to try and end around because they don't like the guns. They don't want their citizens armed down there, so they can continue their agenda. And so that's why I kind of have a problem with us focusing so much on California because I hate to say it, but it almost seems like California is almost a lost cause at this point. They've gone so far off the rails that it's really hard to get them back. So I'd love to see resources directed elsewhere, but obviously I'm not in charge. I'm just running a little small organization, do what I do,
Yeah,
and having fun, and so
yeah, and I mean but also if something happens in California that affects the entire ninth, so that also affects Hawaii, which is
yeah, oh yeah,
if you want to talk about
yeah.
almost lost causes, Hawaii. I mean, what? No, none. I don't think there's been a single uh, concealed carry permit or even open carry permit issued in the entire history of since they've been a state, or at least
Well,
when
they
records have been kept, unless you are law enforcement or security and it is being used for your job.
they had a win. They had a win last week when it comes to tasers there. So they do have an active group there that are very active, and they're trying to kind of stop and push back. When it comes to a taser, it was illegal, but they couldn't define it in the ruling. And so one of the guys that I'm going to be meeting with over there, his name's Andrew. He actually took it to court, sued him, and he actually won in court where there was no direct definition of how this could be enforced. So he now they get starting, I believe, after January of next year, they get to carry a taser for self defense, which I think is a step in the right direction. The way
Yeah.
I look at things as reverse incrementalism, right? So if I can take a little bit back, you know, that's a victory. What I was trying to do here in Oregon, that was, if I could get education and firearm safety education in the public schools for the first grade, that would have been a victory, because that's a way for me. Once I have the first grades, then I can go to the fourth grade, then I can go to the seventh, then I can go to high school. So I just have to get this. I have to get that first victory and get some data behind it, and then I can move forward, and that's what they're trying to do there.
So, if people want to find out more about your organization, how can they do that?
You can find us on our website, kidsafefoundation.org. There's two S's in there. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I don't know if you guys are using TikTok, you guys should really check that out. There's a lot of good stuff there. So,
Yeah. And I was looking at it. I see you got some nice merch out there,
yeah,
some hats and patches, and
yeah,
yeah, I was like, well, I might have to get a couple of those patches, and I'll just save him the shipping. I'll just drive up. I mean, it's like 45-minute drive if
yeah,
everything's going right. It's about a
yeah,
45-minute drive to Eugene.
yeah. And so maybe I need to get down in your area. I need to. I don't go south enough. I typically go north, even though Douglas County is very friendly to us. We do the boat and sportsman shows every year, and so we blow up our BB gun ranges. We have two of these inflatable BB gun ranges that we blow up, and so we get to teach the kids the four basic safety rules. They put on safety glasses, and then they get inside the range, and then they get to shoot BB guns. And these BB guns are really cool. I designed them myself, because I had to get the Red Riders, but I had to get them to fit small kids. And so what I did is I wrote down on a napkin, and I sent it to my buddy that's a machinist, and he made these custom fit parts that I could put a buffer tube on. And so now I put Magpul parts on them, and so now they're totally adjustable. And so now we can get kids that are 3 years old. We can get them shooting ARs, or excuse me, AR type BB guns, because they have the adjustable stocks. So I kind of misspoke there. No, they're not shooting AR-15s, but they're shooting the AR type stocks.
Clones, AR clones.
Yeah, AR clones. So how many patches do I have on the blow up range? None so far. So basically these BB gun ranges are rated for up to 350 feet per second, and those Red Riders are under. And so we've taught close to 13,000 kids how to shoot with these BB gun ranges, and we've been all over the Washington, Oregon, California, and taught them these good skills. And so it's been a lot of fun.
I know. We'll have to have you back on, like on another time, and bring New York Outcast on,
Uh-huh.
because he was at a gun gathering over in Pennsylvania. He's normally from like New York, but they had a like shooting course. It was
Uh-huh.
for the kids, and
Oh,
I don't
cool.
remember if it was like BB guns or if it was airsoft guns, where they
Oh,
got
cool.
to like run an obstacle course and shoot. And so
Oh,
they
wow.
had they had people with them, so they got to do that kind of stuff too. So um,
Yeah, and that's that's all we're trying to do is just bring awareness to our cause, and get kids involved at a young age, teach them safety, and show them that guns are normal. And what's crazy to me is we have 425 million estimated guns in this country, and over 105 million gun owners. There's no way these guns are ever going to go anywhere. And so my suggestion is we should coexist. And so those people that are afraid, they should maybe get out of their comfort zone and maybe come to the range with us, and let's show them that there's, if used properly, guns are not the problem.
yeah, and you might reach out to Tony Simon.
Yeah, I know Tony.
Simon Says Train.
Yeah, he's great.
As it gets going more, maybe you guys could run like co-events where
Mm-hmm.
he does his, and then you're right there, so that they could, like, the parents and stuff could bring their kids,
Yeah,
and you the parents get to train while the kids get to train at the same time, and it's something that they can do as a family. That might be another kind of.
yeah. I was trying to get to Detroit in the end of August for Rick Ector's event. It's called LAID. It's Legally Armed in Detroit, where he every year he puts on an event. It's specifically for women only, and so he's aiming for having 4,000 women go through his shoot. And so what I was trying to do is line up my schedule where I could be there with the BB gun ranges, and so I could kind of educate the kids in the parking lot while the moms are inside the range learning from him. And I don't know if I can pull that off or not, but that would have been a victory if I could get there to kind of meet their kids, because we're all inclusive. We're starting to translate our stuff into Russian, Japanese, Spanish, American Sign Language, because there's zero educational opportunity for those kids. And we look at the data, Latin kids have the highest rate of accidents or negligence inside the home, according to the CDC. And so what we're trying to do is reach out to those kids, because we look at data. Every life lost is in that little line item, and so we can do whatever we can to reach every kid and to save them. That's going to help drive that data down, and that's what we're trying to do. And our kind of our mantra is zero firearm accidents, the only acceptable goal. And until I get to zero, I'm going to keep working. And we have a really good dedicated group of volunteers. We're always looking for partners and sponsors to kind of help us, because it does cost a lot of money. And I'm a volunteer too. It's something I do because it's something that's important to me, and it's important to the Republic that we get those kids involved at a young age, and let them know that they have a responsibility as Americans to know obviously what this means, right? And so they can protect it.
Yeah. So I know, like, Patriot in the Dark, he was kind of giving you a bad time last night, and earlier I saw one of the questions before you jumped on. He was like, "Does Kids Safe mean wrapping the kids in bubble
No,
wrap?"
no.
Uh,
I would recommend you go to our Instagram. You can see all the stuff that we've done there. We've done some pretty remarkable things, and I'm really, really proud of some of the things we're able to accomplish as a small organization, and with really with no funding.
yeah.
It's just sheer grit and determination. So looks like I had something from Wiley Guns. Hawaii is a lost cause in gun rights. And I don't necessarily believe that. I think that we'll see next week. And if we can get there and make an impact and start a chapter there, maybe we can get a victory there. And
Exactly.
I'm not going to give up. And because what we can do is we can show the fact that gun control equals dead children. And I try not to get morbid. I try not to I try to be really positive with the message. But I mean, those are the facts. When you don't talk about a firearm, the likelihood of a kid being hurt or killed, they go up exponentially. And all we're trying to do is have a conversation. And we're not trying to say you should own guns or you shouldn't own guns. What we're trying to do is say you should educate the kids. And we're trying to be really moderate and middle of the road. And we modeled this program. I've modeled this program similar to water safety. We teach every kid in the country ought to swim because we don't want them to drown. That's the same principle behind our firearm safety program. It's firearm safety for every kid.
Now, you were talking about the different languages and even
Yeah.
into sign language. Do we have Braille?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would think that that would be a component too. And I mean,
Because
obviously, if I can fund it, I will do it. Absolutely.
Patriot in the Dark is uh, he's a blind. He's a former Marine, but he's lost his sight.
Oh,
But
really?
he still gets out there and shoots and does videos and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Uh, if you actually, he's got some great videos out there. I mean, some
Wow.
that talk about the Constitution and stuff, but he also, when he does like gun cleaning videos or any of those, he will specifically like go through and describe the firearm as he goes down the firearm, because he's like also, kind of helping for if there's other blind people out there like Guns and Barbecue.
Hmm.
He's he's almost blind. He's got, I think he can see anything up to like 3 feet from his face,
Wow.
but he gets out there and he does shooting. So yeah, we got some people that are disabled, um, and
I call them abled. They're abled.
yeah, yeah, you
Uh,
you you get to be out there, and so they'll still shoot and everything. And so what's going to stop a person who has a vision impairment as a child, who may not go to something like that because they're like, hey, I can't see, why would I you know be interested in firearms? Or their parents are like, well, you can't see that well, so maybe being able to reach out to and saying, hey, we offer this kind of stuff and we can help with that too. We can educate your child also.
yeah, and that's the thing is you just planted a seed. It's and that's what's great about doing this and talking to people that are like myself, like minded, is there's always something that you just gave me a nugget. Like I hadn't thought about Braille, and so that's something I'll check into and see how I can make that happen. Because I think that's a very valid way to educate is because what I want to do is I want to show the other side that we have meaningful solutions and we're trying to be all inclusive. We're trying to cover every base that we have just so they will listen to what we have to say. I mean, I'm it's crazy some of the things that I have to go through just to get them. And obviously tonight I'm a little bit, typically if I'm talking to, depending on the audience, I'm not talking about NFAs and stuff like that, carrying cert guns into Canada.
Right.
Obviously my audience is a little bit different tonight, but ultimately, when we're talking to people that are afraid of guns or fearful of guns, we're very careful with the way we talk to them because, they have valid fears. And I get that. The only way I can understand their fears is I have to be able to have that conversation. And if I'm really staunch 2A, I'm not going to be able to get that conversation with them. And so that's why we have to be careful. And what I kind of encourage everybody is, if there's somebody in your circle that might be kind of on the fence, is maybe have a delicate conversation with them and be careful with the way you word it, but you know see if there's any questions you can answer about your firearms. I am I on my personal social media, I always share pictures of cool firearms that I have and me handling firearms, just so I get messages like, oh, what is that? And that way people are curious by nature, and if they don't know something and you have something that maybe kind of piques their interest, maybe talk about it. you know
Yeah. So I I'm following you over on Instagram, and I know you've followed me back. If you see some of those posts I have over there that have the every second matters patch in there,
yeah, yeah.
so that's a kind of a little thing we have going, is we're trying to bring awareness to the Second Amendment. So on the second of every month, we open carry and try to strike up conversations and explain, hey, we are carrying not because we want to harm other people. We're caring because we love our family. We want to be able to defend our family. And oftentimes, when seconds count, law enforcement is minutes away. It's
Absolutely.
nothing, absolutely nothing to do wrong with them. It's just facts. And you can't carry around a police officer in your back pocket, no matter how often you would love to do that. You just can't.
And part of what we're doing with our program is we're trying to teach strong kids. And the only way we teach strong, so when we're meeting kids, we're judging them, right? We're looking for good firm handshakes. We're looking for eye contact. And at the end of the class, we explain why we do that. And it's because when we have kids that are meeting adults for the first time, I don't know if you're paying attention, but trafficking is a huge problem right now, and especially in
Hmm.
Oregon. And so we have to get to these kids that are I meet a lot of kids that are heads are down, they're afraid when they're meeting me for the first time. But it's important if they're meeting adults that they're making good eye contact and they have a good firm handshake, because bad people are looking for weaknesses, and
Yep.
that's my biggest fear going forward is safe spaces are going to be the end of our republic. We're teaching teenagers, college age kids that safe spaces are okay. And every kid that I meet, I tell the parents I want that kid to be the best in the room. Every kid's the best in that room. There's no participation trophies in life. There's no second place. Every kid has to win. How bad you want it, and so that's kind of where we're getting at from a organization standpoint is we want strong kids. We're not gonna pander. We're not gonna back down on principle. We're gonna show the country and the rest of the world solutions that work, through lots of trial and error. I think I have over 2,300 hours in front of these kids, demoing what we do, and I learn I learned so much just from having conversations with those kids and how they take in the information, so I can kind of tweak it. What's going to be interesting next week is going to Hawaii is like there's a totally different language over there, and so I'm
Oh
wondering
yeah.
if everything I've learned here, I mean, is it going to make sense over there? So it's going to be a challenge, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And you got any plugs or anything you have? Want to give them like I know you were talking about you're on IG, you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram. Are you on Facebook?
I am on yeah, I have the Kids S.A.F.E Foundation is on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. If you guys want to send me a friend request, that's fine. I'm always looking to connect with people and I love to go on other podcasts. If anybody else was interested in what we do, just shoot me a message. Find me on either my website, and I would love to have more conversations about what we're doing, because I think it's really important right now is we have to be able to show solutions, and we do that by getting on other people's platforms and being able to have conversations to their audiences, and show the importance of what we're trying to do. And I saw one question: take the mystery out of firearms. Yep, that's what we're doing. So facts over fear. And I'm just really, really blessed to be here, and blessed to have just keep going forward.
Well, I'll extend the olive branch. If you ever have a Saturday afternoon open and you want to come on and have four other people ask you a bunch of questions and
Okay.
BS, Saturdays we just kind of have like a gathering. We all BS. It may be firearms, it may be politics, it could be just whatever it's happening. Did you get a new firearm? You never know what the conversation could be.
Okay.
Um, if you want to jump in and kind of just BS with us, you got an
Mhm.
open invite. Just shoot
I
me an
appreciate
email
that.
saying, "Hey, I'm open," and I'll shoot you a link and you can jump on.
Awesome. I appreciate it. It was great talking to you. It was a good talk. Um, so keep in touch. And you guys can find out more information on our website, kidsafefoundation.org. Find us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We have just a small channel. I don't do enough on YouTube. I really should. and we're on Patreon as well. So
Yeah, I never ever promote my Patreon account. I
yeah,
Yeah, but we're gonna get out of here, guys. I will definitely see you all tomorrow evening, um, when we do the standard Saturday evening chats. And I want to thank Derek from Kids Safe, um, for jumping on. And have a great night, guys.
yeah. See you guys. Thank you.